Since I've had the new update of Windows 10, it doesn't seem to have crashed. So hopefully that's fixed that problem I was getting last
Fingers
week.
crossed. Right, everything seems to be going okay on there. So, Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
And it feels like very early this week.
That's because it is very early this week.
So we're recording a day ahead of schedule. So actually the show will go out on Wednesday. So listeners will get this a day early as well.
Excellent.
Yes. So yes, fairly busy week last week for Microsoft.
Quite quiet, really.
Yeah. Now we know Jason tonight. That's because he's too busy updating all his Apple gear to the latest iOS 9.3.
Yes, yeah.
So there was an Apple event tonight, and it's just a show of how times have changed and how difficult it is to stay really right at the top, certainly in the eyes of sort of tech press, to surprise people, because I've seen some of the comments about today's Apple keynote, and it's a long way from some of the buzz that was generated on the early keynotes.
Oh yeah, it didn't seem to be. I don't know. I guess you're right. It's very difficult to stay ahead of the game, and that actually gives hope for some of these platforms which aren't doing quite so well these days.
Yeah, I mean the iPhone itself is doing great, and I don't think they need to do a huge amount anyway. But it's interesting that it's very difficult to wow people now with the new phone, because it's just another iPhone, isn't it? A smaller iPhone, I think they've launched. Is it?
Yeah,
It's the SE, is it?
Yeah, SE 4-inch iPhone 6 and a iPhone 5 case, basically.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people who don't like the big phone. So, and I think actually that's a point that Microsoft are missing out at the moment, because the part of their market was the small phone, the 520 market.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who still like those small phones. A lot of people I know who like to have something they can stick in a small bag and carry around with them. And I think this is a good move on Apple's part to go to a 4-inch version.
Yeah, I know what you mean, actually, because I like the larger phones, but someone did say to me at work, I actually quite like a smaller phone. And I guess really by that standard, even the 950, the standard 950, that's quite a large phone, isn't it, compared to a 4-inch phone?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's basically the same features as the 6, all in the 5S in the smaller case. So yeah, seems a good move.
Yeah, I personally like the larger phones, but we've
I know
discussed that many a time. So yeah, so when I think they also announced some additional sizes of iPad Pro, didn't they?
They did, yeah, and dropped the iPad Air price 2 price down.
Yeah.
So that's and they've got a Lightning to USB-C charger to charge your iPad Pro from your MacBook.
Oh, very nice. It's funny, isn't it, that one of the criticisms early days of Samsung with their sort of their tablet strategy was that they threw every size going, and you could get everything from sort of 4-inch up to 12-inch in less than half-inch increments. But it seems Apple have gone that way as well now. They've got quite a, you've got the Mini, and then you've got the Air, and then the 2 iPad Pros.
Yeah, and also they've updated Apple TV as well, which you can now dictate on Apple TV, and you've got you've got folders as well. I think they've added into.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Especially with the Apple TV, and we've talked about it many times. Really, it never really caught on yet, as it's. There's a few people that know about it that use it and love it. It's almost a bit like Media Center, isn't it? That there are the evangelists for it who absolutely love their Apple TV.
Yeah.
But in mainstream, it's just not really taken off.
No, and I guess has any TV set-top box device taken off?
No,
really?
No.
And you wonder why that is, because particularly in this year's age of Netflix and everything, you'd think that would be a big thing, but even the Rokus and that haven't really taken off that much. I mean, the closest thing I've seen to take off is the Now TV box, because I was chatting to someone. I know they always have their big massive sales every year which push out a few, but the numbers of those have gone quite well this year. So maybe that's a way in. Getting Sky TV for cheap is an option that people want to do.
Yeah, that you're probably right. That does seem to have done well, but that's perhaps the way that they market it as well, isn't it? That if you go into PC World, Courage PC World, you only have to go and look at a TV, and they'll try and sell you a Now TV box.
Yep, they will.
And I think I told the story on the show in the past. I think I was looking at some TVs, and someone came over, and I was there with my wife, and they said, "Oh, do you know about Now TV and set-top boxes?" And my wife kind of looked at me and just said, "Oh God, you've picked the wrong guy to talk to about this." So, but yeah, that aggressive strategy does seem to be it's a good option, isn't it, for a lot of consumers? I guess a lot of it comes down to the fact that still the Sky box, the Virgin Media box, that it's certainly from a UK point of view, are good enough, just good enough, and the Freeview boxes as well. They're all good enough to provide the TV functionality without really requiring a lot of people to look for this extra functionality.
Yeah, I think that's where we are really at the moment.
And that's, we talked about the Xbox the other week, gaining soon to gain the DVR functionality. But I imagine it's still not going to be that particular high usage of it.
No, especially at the moment, we've only got the single tuner you can use with it. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a limiting factor in that respect.
Yeah. So that was. So I don't think there was anything else. The 9.3 iOS updates. In fact, it's just currently installing. Actually, it seems funny to installing an update on my iPad Mini. That I'm used to installing builds on my Windows 8 tablet, Windows 10 tablets. But yeah, I just installed that on there, so I don't know. Actually, there didn't seem too much with it. A few security enhancements and the usual things. So yeah, so that was the Apple stuff. But really, last week was quite a busy week for Microsoft. A bit of controversy. So we had a new phone build, a new PC build, which we'll talk about later. But the big thing, which we did kind of hint that was coming, was the release of Windows 10 Mobile to Windows Phone 8.1 users.
Yes, well, at least some of them.
Some of them, yeah.
Which is obviously the big news of the week. And I guess we probably could have speculated some on that. I know there's been a lot of people disappointing out there, particularly because of devices which were originally on the insider build list, but are no longer on the list, which is actually getting the update.
Yeah.
And that's not to say they won't ever get the update, because I know Microsoft are constantly reevaluating the data. But basically what they've done is they've said, from the feedback we've got from insiders, these are not going to give a really good experience to end consumers, so we're not going to actually send them out to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of people saying that, but they promised that all Windows 8.1 devices would get this, and well, they didn't actually promise all Windows 8.1 devices would get it in the first place. They did promise some would get, which aren't getting it, and that can be a bit of a problem. I think it's always better to under-promise and over-deliver rather than over-promise and under-deliver, which is basically what they've done here.
Yeah.
So basically, if you've got a 512 megabyte device, you're not going to get Windows 10.
Yeah.
And a few others.
Yeah, and a few others, yeah, including the one that's you see a lot of vocal was the 1020.
Yeah, and the 920. I think probably the 920 more than the 1020. A lot of people on 1020 who tried it on the insider, like myself, realised just how sluggish and slow it was.
Yeah.
But the 920, for most people I've seen who've used it on the insider program, it's been working fine. So I think there's a lot of people saying, why is that one not included?
And the other one was the Icon, the Lumia Icon, which is a repackaged or rebadged 930, isn't it?
Yes.
Although I think they're reviewing that, aren't they?
I think they are, and I think that one's more down to the operator, the mobile provider, than it is to Microsoft.
Yeah. So I mean, like we said, we should on that. Well, let's go back to the issue of the supported devices first, then we'll talk about actual upgrade. So my thought on that was, and yes, I know people are disappointed, but you've got to remember some of the people that potentially got these devices with the lower spec, like the 630, which I've been using since February with Windows 10, which is the first device I ran with it. I specifically got it to test with the insider program on a Lumia. But the people that have got it, and I think of some of my relatives, I know my dad's got one, and a few other people. You don't want to give them an upgrade. We talked about this, didn't we? You don't want to give them an experience that is a degraded experience after they've done the update. That is just so counterproductive, and it will force people to think, "Oh, this phone's getting a bit sluggish now. It's really slow since the upgrade." You go to a phone store, and they'll just get you on an Android phone. And so I can really see why Microsoft have decided to do that. And I mean, it was a tough decision, I guess. I imagine some people within Microsoft probably wanted to release it to all devices, but somewhere they've decided, haven't they, that the ones with the suboptimal experience, like you found with the 1020, it's not the right thing to do to give the customers those devices, or upgrade those devices, and potentially ruin someone's phone experience. Because that's why it's all right for us techies that play about with different phones and things, but for someone like my dad, if it suddenly went on the loading screens all the time when he went from app to app, it would just go to the phone store and get a new one, or complain to the phone store or whatever, and even if they don't want to buy a new one, they wouldn't enjoy the experience, and that's a bad thing. So while I can see that a number of enthusiasts are upset that are using. I mean, like I said, I've used a 630 for a long time, but it is sluggish. But it's got that 512 mega RAM, and I think you can understand that issue. But also, I mean, if you've got a 630 or something like that, and you really want Windows 10 experience, then you can't do too bad looking at the 550 off contract. It's fairly cheap now. I think it's even 70 quid, isn't it?
Yeah, one of those, or even one of those Bush Illumas. Which I must admit, a friend of mine's been using that regularly, and absolutely loves it. So says the battery life on it is far better than the 550 they were trying. So
yeah.
So I think, I mean, there's some options out there at really cheap prices at the moment, which are probably better than 6p. But I get people's frustration. It was on the Insider program. I mean, the thing I've heard more often than not is, but why can't Microsoft fix this?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just not possible.
I mean, who's to say that they won't, optimize that build for the Redstone release, and maybe they'll look at adding them back in. I doubt it, but it is technically
it's technically feasible that might happen. I mean, it does show that there are some compromises with Windows 10 in the way it's been ported to the phone. It's not as an efficient operating system as perhaps Windows 8.1 was on a phone. So, which is slightly worrying. I mean, the other thing which is slightly worrying is a list of things which are no longer there when you move to Windows 10. Yeah. So I thought, if you look at the list, it's fairly fundamental stuff. But I think it's I mean, in a way, some of those users might be grateful they're not getting Windows 10.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly, it is more of something that enthusiasts want, and a regular user will probably quite happy to stick on.
Yeah,
to stick on 8.1.
Yeah,
but so we mentioned those devices that are supported. We should say as well that if you're on the Insider program, you can obviously still get Windows 10 mobile on the unsupported devices, but I think what Microsoft is saying, they are unsupported, and you won't get future builds. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So you get the current build, but that's it.
Yeah,
which is I don't know about that.
I think perhaps a compromise would have been to enable it so that you could, if you went onto the fast ring, then you could still continue to get those updates, because those, perhaps like with my 9th with the 630 I'm using for testing, I'm not bothered about the performance. I'm just using it for testing compatibility and that kind of thing. So they could have still included that, but I suppose going forward they draw the line somewhere, and then let's just say the next People app update or whatever is going to require the 1 gig of RAM. They don't have to. The lowest common denominator isn't 512 anymore. They now got a benchmark of one of the gig of RAM. So it could be something like that as well.
Yeah.
So that's the devices. So if you've got one of the older ones, yep, you're out. But if you've got one of the newer ones, the ones with 1 gig really, the blue ones, and some of the, I mean, like the 540s, the 430 and 435, they're still supported. The 635 as well, if you've got a gig on there. So if you've got one of the compatible devices, you can then get Windows 10 Mobile, but it doesn't just arrive, does it?
No, you have to do so. Well, we did say about that there might be some hoops to go through, and there is. You basically have to download an app to actually see if your a phone is available to have the upgrade, and that doesn't just depend on whether it's on this list. It depends on whether your operator's done it. It's very like previous times where the operator's proved in where we are on that. So, so you do need to download the Upgrade Advisor app from the App Store, and then you run it, and it will tell you whether you can have the update.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I ran that on my 1520 because you remember a few weeks ago I said I'd rolled my 1520 back to 8.1 using the recovery tool, and then I did that, installed this app. It detected it straight away, says it's available, and mine's a SIM-free one, so it's not tied to a carrier, and straight away it said you can enable the upgrade, and you just tick the box. And it's very much like installing the Windows Insider app. It's almost, well, it's essentially the same thing, isn't it? It's just it allows you to do the production ring. So yeah, I ticked the box. It did a check, download, and then it started to do the upgrade exactly as if I'd just put it on the Insider program. And 20 minutes later, whatever, it was up and running. And the experience so far, I mean, I'm not using it full time, but it seems fine. You know, I don't have any issues with it, and you know, it's all been working really well. So that 5020 has gone onto that build quite well, which is the it's the November update, isn't it? The 2015 November update that's actually been released.
Yes, yeah, it is.
It's quite funny because the Insider app, like about I think it was yesterday or the day before, said we've released Windows 10, 15, 11 for for mobile. So that was on there, and that's all been working fine on there. So I would imagine though, for the majority of people, they won't ever do this, will they? Because they'll never know that Windows 10 is available because there's no notification on the phone or anything.
No, and maybe that's a good thing.
I think so. I think that's the exact reason they've done it like that, and not done it like they have in Windows 10 on the PC, where they really were pushing you to do that. I don't think they're really that bothered whether you update or not, because it's not going to make that much difference overall to the number of users. If you are interested in it and you've heard about it, you can get it, and you don't have to be an insider. You can just get it if your device is compatible. Maybe when Redstone comes out, they'll change that and make it as an option, as an advertised update.
Yeah, you could see that happening because Redstone is potentially going to bring more to the phone. And I actually think my own opinion is a lot of this reason for this thing's being dropped is not about Windows 10; it's about Redstone.
Yep, and they've set a benchmark for Redstone.
Yeah, they're saying that we want to do a lot more in Redstone. We just can't do it with these older phones. We could give them a Windows 10 as we've got it now, but is that worth doing? And yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
and maybe that's when the users will get a prompt to say Windows 10 is available. But I don't know, without installing the app, there's no way your phone knows about Windows 10, is there? So, no. And there's no way to. Doesn't seem to. I can't think of a way that they can advertise it. It's not like Windows Update. Maybe they could do it through an update, but then
they could put it in the store, couldn't they? They could put it on the front page of the store. That's one place they could do it.
Like the Windows 8.1 update, I suppose.
Yeah,
the PC,
they did that.
Yeah.
So I think that's. I could see them doing that.
It's just, I imagine, again, I'm using an example of my dad with his low end Lumia. He's probably never see this app and will never bother to the update anyway, which just perhaps breaks my argument a little bit for what I was saying. Keep the experience good, because it's only the people that are really looking for it will ever get it. But so anyway, so it's rolled out. Like you said, there was a lot of people upset about the models, but they made that decision, and it's out there now. So I can't imagine there'll be huge numbers of it. In fact, you can tell there weren't huge numbers because they still went ahead and released another PC and a phone build the same week. If it had been a big, massive rollout, they wouldn't have done that. So that came out, and it's out there. And what they also said, there was a change to the Insider program for the devices that are eligible for the Redstone builds on the Insider program. So prior to this update, the only phones that were receiving Redstone builds were the 550, 950, 950 XL, and I think it's a couple of the blue ones, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The new ones. Anyway, anything that shipped with Windows 10 Mobile was receiving Redstone if you were on the fast ring. But I think they've changed that now, haven't they?
Yes. Yeah, so they've added a few.
So-
That taken a few away.
Yeah, so basically, I think they've just gone for the ones that are supported, aren't they? On the
Yeah.
on the general rollout.
On general rollout, yeah, which is
So-
good.
Yeah, so if you're on the fast ring, you'll now receive a Redstone build. And if you stay on the release preview, you'll get the current Threshold 2 build. If you're on the slow ring, you get the slow ring
Yeah.
of Redstone. I have noticed, though, my 1520 still hasn't received a Redstone build yet, even though I put it on the fast ring. So I think there's still provisioning that.
Yeah, that could well be the case.
Yeah. So, but it does mean that for me, I could put my 950 XL back on the Threshold 2.
Yep.
And use my 1520 to test the Redstone. But unless something breaks, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as it is at the moment. But it does, at least it opens it up now, so you can go straight onto the Redstone builds if you want to, if you're on a supported device.
Yep, yeah, it makes sense.
So while they were doing all that, I'm sure was keeping busy, we also got a new PC and a phone build.
Yes.
So do the phone build first. So this is 14291. Well, they were both 14291, weren't they?
They were indeed. So this is the fast ring.
Yeah. So that's a number for your quiz of the year at the end of both builds. 14291 rolled out for on the fast ring for the phone and the PC. So we'll talk about the phone version first. Did you take the plunge and do this on your 950?
I haven't. No, I've kept them on the current release, primarily because I'm actually doing some development at the moment, so I need to have it available on that. But I could certainly. I will take the plunge shortly, I think. But having said that, I did look at this one. I think some of the gotchas on it seemed quite gotcherish.
Yeah, it's quite a big list again of these changes. So let's have a see. So well, in terms of new features, there was an update to the Maps app, which we'll come back to. Yep. The Alarms app as a new picker. That was it. And on mobile, they fixed the web encryption.
Yes.
Yep. They fixed the issue resulting in slower text input, which I didn't see anyway. They fixed low word flow recognition on longer words. Again, I hadn't seen any issues with that, but it's good.
Yep.
They fixed all apps lists response to the make text larger, which is good. They fixed an issue where the settings would sometimes leave unresolved app names under extras. I hadn't seen that.
Yep.
And they fixed an issue where touch targets could be out of alignment on the photo picker, and I have seen that, and that it's been a bug for ages. I haven't seen it recently, actually, but I don't know if you've come across this, but if you take some pictures and then you want to tweet them, so you go to the share icon and it opens up whatever the app is, Tweetium, and you say, in fact, it's the other way around. If you go to Tweetium, you say, I want to share a picture, and it gives you the file picker to pick your image. You tap the image on the top left, the most recent one, and it'll highlight the one on the top right.
Okay, yep.
And then you highlight the one on the top right, you tap the one on the top right, and it'll pick the middle. The alignment was just totally out, and I always found if you rotate in landscape mode, it was fine, and you could just pick ones and then carry on. But that's been resolved now.
Oh, good. Excellent.
But the known issues, there's an issue with resetting the phone again. So if you reset your phone and restore from a backup, the restore fails to install the apps from your backups app list, leaving grey tiles. And then if you then delete those grey tiles, you don't get an app data restored. So you've got to then go and key all the data back in again. And then the next backup will overwrite the app backup. So you're getting a mess.
That didn't sound good to me.
Yeah.
Because I use that backup all the time. So it really didn't sound good to me, that.
Yeah. There's still an issue with the bands, the pairing with the bands. But that was resolved for me by installing US English and staying on US English.
Yep.
So I think if you're on US English, you can install, say, Canadian English or English correct English, GB English, and then you have to switch. I don't know why it's done that, but interesting enough, though, I've noticed I haven't had the issue where it drops the sync in completely and you have to reboot the phone. So whether that's related to this, but anyway, that's still an issue with that. And also the Gadget app, which we talked about last time, where you couldn't update the firmware. And that's still an issue. And there's a new setting under update and security it says Windows Insider, and that currently doesn't do anything.
Yes, which I guess is going to do something.
Yeah. Now, what has changed on the phone is the brand new Maps app, or an updated Maps app, which both the desktop and the phone version have been updated. It's a universal app. But I've just come across one really strange bug on this, and I don't know if anybody else has seen this. But if I open the Maps app and and it shows my current location, the accuracy is correct. If I then go and do a route and do turn-by-turn navigation, it's showing me about a quarter of a mile to the left of where I am, and
Okay.
it just can't work out where I am. It's totally haywire. It's about a quarter of a mile, maybe southwest of where it should be. It just doesn't work. The pin, so the road is to the right of where you actually are, on the map. You see, it looks totally odd. If you then rotate, and I found this by accident, if you then rotate the phone into landscape, it corrects it.
Right.
Back into portrait, and it stays corrected, and it's fine. So it's not a GPS issue. It's something to do with the way that it's drawing the screen, I guess.
Yes, it must be.
So,
scaling.
Yeah. So on my phone now, if I want to do turn-by-turn navigation, I have to do the turn-by-turn request, get it to start, take the phone out the holster, rotate it, put it back, and it's fine.
Not the best experience.
No. And I was thinking this is going to be a disaster. Before I realized the rotate thing, I thought this is going to be a total disaster if I have to use it. Here Maps is going. Look, I have got Copilot Live, so that's fine. I could use that one. But anyway, that fix does fix it, and the navigation is fine. I'm not seeing any lag as well. I was sort of doing a bit of a test, and it's up to date. So the navigation is absolutely fine on it, but until I realized that, it was just unusable.
Yeah.
Really weird bug that. So it's just how it's drawing that pin on the center of the screen. Very weird.
Yes.
And that is not in the list of known issues.
Kind of important to get that right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you didn't know about the rotation thing, you just wouldn't use it. It's totally unusual. And then here Maps will be gone. So then you're looking at a third-party app, and it doesn't need to be. So I'm sure they can fix that. I don't even know whether that's an issue with my 950, the 950 XL, or how long that issue's been there. I certainly wasn't there 2 or 3 weeks ago. I hope in the next build to do that. But in terms of the app, they have done quite a bit, haven't they, with the presentation, the design of the app overall.
Yeah, they have. I found a couple of glitches. If you're in the sort of I just can't think what you actually called it. The isomorphic view, the one which is sort of laid out so you're seeing it in a. I'm trying to think of the right words to do. So basically, if it's not flat, if it's tilted.
Yep.
My brain's gone blank on what to call that. But if you switch from road to traffic to aerial, it sometimes doesn't switch to aerial, and you just end up with a blank screen.
Right.
In that mode, and then you switch back to road and come back to aerial works. But yeah, I mean, they've done a lot of work on the layout. I'm not sure I like it on the PC. I do like what I've seen of it on the mobile.
Yeah, it does work quite well. I think what I quite liked about it that they've touted as one of the features is that it's easier now to do to get directions, isn't it? Because when you go to there's a navigation bar at the bottom. So it's much easier to start a directions
on the mobile, and obviously on the phone. It's on the desktop. It's on the top,
and then you've got that tab. You've sort of got a tab view, haven't you, as well? So you can do when you do routing, you can put say 2 different destinations, and you can quickly switch between them. So I think one of the issues I always have with the previous one is if I did a map from here to centre of London, and then I also thought, I actually go a different way and put a different route in.
Yeah,
it would then lose that initial plan, but now it keeps both, and you can tab between them, which I think looks better. And it's the same thing that's the same thing on the PC version. You can sort of switch between them quite easily. It's like they call them layers, but it looks like a tab to me.
Yes, yeah, and I think one of the release notes called them tabs as well. So.
Yeah. That's it. So I think that's definitely better. They also mentioned that Cortana will give you turn-by-turn directions, but I didn't seem to get that when I tried it.
No, I wonder if that's an American-only thing.
Well, it could be, but my phone's in American.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you would expect to have got that.
Yeah. And then what other things they've added to it? They said they've included search results for local searches, and they've added the ability to search for favorite 3D cities.
Yes, that's definitely a good thing, because if you want to use the 3D city things, which is quite cool,
Mm.
it used to be a real pain because you couldn't. You got a list up, but you had no idea how to get. You'd scroll for hours to get down to the right one you wanted. So.
Yeah. They've added favorites offline now as well, so which is quite good, because you generally, if you've no service or whatever, then you can still access your favorites and add notes to them. And they said they've improved the turn-by-turn design. Well, if you get it working, yes, it is better. And I gave it a try on the PC version as well, and the turn-by-turn experience is exactly the same as the phone version.
Yes, yeah,
which you'd expect from a Universal app, but actually, so my 7-inch Link 7, which makes quite a good GPS device now, actually, and it's if you could mount it in the dash quite well. I mean, I don't really have an issue using my 950, but you could use that quite well now.
Yeah, you could. It's quite a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we had that discussion last week about the Sygic as well, so that worked.
Yeah.
So it's
So that was the mobile version. I've installed it last week, and it seems to be working fine. It's had no impact on battery life or anything else like that, and it all seems good.
Good, excellent.
So we had a PC build as well.
We did, yep. Which seems to have fixed my crashing issue of last week. So hopefully that's gone completely. So a few new features in that as well.
Yeah, so the mapping app we just discussed, that's sort of identical to the phone version, but the big change in this or potential for the future is the extension supporting Microsoft Edge.
Yeah, which at the moment is a bit of a fiddly thing to install, but still quite good. I've got the translator one installed, because I do quite often go to sites which are not UK spoken, and that seems to work quite well.
Yeah, so this is, for anyone who knows what the extensions are, they're a kind of an add-on thing for the browser, and Chrome and other browsers have had extensions for a long time now. And in fact, really, Internet Explorer kind of had them. And you could extend Internet Explorer functionality, not quite as elegant, but so Edge now gets that. And eventually, when the Windows 10 Redstone is released, you'll get these extensions in the Windows Store. But for now, you manually sort of install them by browsing to the folder where the executable is, or the files are anyway. But this is just for test purposes. So there was there was 3 extensions that shipped. The translation one, which you mentioned, which puts a little icon in the browser bar, the URL bar. There's a Reddit extensions and mouse gestures, which I actually found the mouse gestures one quite good, actually. You can right click and drag left and it'll go back. Yeah,
that's quite cool, I think.
Yeah. They don't work with touch, which I thought they might do if you just if you long pressed and then did the gesture. That would be quite nice. But then that is something that somebody else could do, isn't it? A third party could bring out touch gestures for Edge. And that's one of the things with the extensions. But what other ones like ad blockers and Amazon, and there's all sorts of ones available, isn't there?
Yes, yeah. So I mean, we should.
Or will it be available?
Will be available, yeah. I mean, obviously, ad blockers is the one which everybody wants. So I mean, there's already a few being ported. So we've had I'm trying to remember what it's called actually. The turn the lights off.
Oh yes, I did see that today. Yeah, so that's kind of where is it dim the screen when you're watching a YouTube video?
Yes, right. So basically,
dim the border.
Dim the border. So the video just comes up full, and everything else on the page gets dimmed, which is quite a nice thing. And that's been ported across from Chrome, so it shows that's possible. And it's going to be. I'm sure we'll see more of those.
Yeah. So I think the idea is that developers can easily port the Chrome extensions.
Yes, Parallax View. Came to me eventually.
Right.
On the map.
Oh yes, I see what you mean. Yes. Now, do you want me to edit that back in now?
No. You leave it. People can see how slow my brain works.
So these extensions will look great. I mean, to be honest, I've used Edge without really missing the extensions. I've used them in the past when I used Chrome. I stopped using Chrome because of the amount of memory it seemed to just churn through.
Yeah.
But it will be good to see these in Edge, and I think they're pretty straightforward to port over. It's not like porting an app from Android or from iOS to Windows. It's much simpler process. So we should see some good extensions, but yeah, we don't at the moment. It's just for testing.
Yes.
But the other thing that looks quite nice, which is one of the things I actually think I would use, is where you can pin a tab as well.
Yes, I do like that. In fact, I've already done that. There's a few tabs I use every day, and I've pinned those to the Edge.
Yeah.
Start,
so when you pin a tab, it just reduces the width of the tab, at the top of the screen just to the icon.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because you've pinned it. You know what it is. You don't need to see the full text.
Yeah.
And it also removes the close icon. So they're kind of like web apps, but I think I tend to use Gmail in the browser on my laptop. I use the mail app on my tablet, but on the laptop I use Gmail. I use TweetDeck on the laptop, and then I've got TDL and a few others. So yeah, I just pin those, and then when you open the browser, it brings them all up in one go. Then
yes, yeah,
which and it works quite well. I've tried it on my test machines, and they're working quite well. So I quite like that idea.
Yes, and I have got TDL pinned. So there you go.
Along with Fascinated Tech.
Yeah. Those the ones you use all the time. That's very, very good to have pinned on the top.
So I think that those are quite nice additions. So Edge gets a few new features, and there was a few other bits and pieces in Edge, but I think that was quite good functionality. And actually, that pinning, I really like to have that on my laptop at work. So I think once Redstone comes more stable, I think I'll jump onto that as well.
Yeah.
The feedback app. You're going to say
the feedback app?
Yes, the feedback app and the Insider app have been replaced and combined with this new.
Oh, they've been combined, haven't they? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So what was, I think there was the Insiders app and a feedback app, wasn't there before? And it's now called Feedback Hub.
Yes.
Yeah. So that brings the functionality of those two apps into one. What else was new? I've got a list here. So there are some fixes. They said they fixed an issue where the system tray looked out of alignment. They fixed an issue with WEP, just as on the phones. They fixed an issue with where the X to close the find, it says find of page, but I presume it means find on page toolbar is displayed off screen on 8-inch tablets. They fixed that. They fixed an issue with the USB icon and notification area was reverted to the old icon when you did eject the drive. I've never ejected a drive for about I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the last time you ejected a drive.
Does anybody ever do that? That used to bug me on the Mac, that when you disconnect thing, I think it always tells you, doesn't it then?
Yeah.
And they fixed an issue on the suggested search in Edge, resulting in the URL let me read that again. It says, we fixed an issue where clicking the suggested search in Microsoft Edge resulted in a URL to the search as the search string. I saw that. That's quite annoying, that actually. You would do a search in Edge, you'd see the top result, you tap on it, or click on it, and it would just search it would search the results as a URL. So it wouldn't work, basically.
Yes, I had that a lot.
Yeah. Actually, talking of clipboard, did they made some enhancements to the clipboard with Edge?
Yes, they have done something with clipboard, haven't they?
Yeah. So you can, isn't it, paste URL now, and it will just do.
Yeah, so you've got paste and go and paste and search as options, which I quite like that.
Yeah, in fact, something I used to use in Chrome and I missed there was in Edge. So yeah, if you've got a clipboard so if you've got a URL pasted to the clipboard, and then when you go into Edge, you can do paste and go, or if it's a text, it'll do paste and search. Yeah, still catching up really with Chrome, but it's good to see those in there. So those were the fixes. They've still got issues with the Surface Pro 3 and Surface Pro 4 Surface Book experiencing freeze or hanging.
Yep. Strange that they can't sort their own hardware out, but there you go.
Yeah. The PCB freeze when plugging in an Xbox One or an Xbox 360 controller. And I think there's still issues with the virtual switch when using Hyper-V. That's one for Jason.
Yep.
And they're saying some apps such as QQ crashing and Windows Live Mail and Expression Encoder 4. Although I think they're pretty old apps, those, aren't they now?
Yeah,
Windows Live Mail,
Expression Encoder 4 is still used by a few people, so I could see that would be. But I mean, I'm not surprised some of these older apps do break. But
And I think the other issue was about Kaspersky antivirus. They've had this quite a while, haven't they, on this?
Yes. Yeah.
With that, yeah. So I think if you use Windows Defender, you'll be fine. So those were all that was the PC build. So I've got that installed on my tablets and one of my desktop machines, and yeah, it's been working fine with that. So it's quite stable, really. This I mean, I know this Edge feature with the extensions is relatively new, but it's actually been quite stable.
Good.
So you said it's fixed your crashing problem as well.
Yeah, it does seem to have. I haven't had one since I started, so which is good because that was becoming really annoying.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it seems to have fixed one issue we're having around Core 8 where it wouldn't resume correctly from what sleep is. So you know it's got a haptic button on the Windows key, which you use to sort of power it on. I use it anyway. So you could do the vibration, but it actually wouldn't come on. You've got to hold the power down, turn it off, bring it back up again, and that does seem to have fixed that on those recent ones. So that was all the Windows news. So quite a lot going on for Microsoft with Windows 10 last week.
Yeah, quite a lot. People are happy and not happy, and
yeah. There's always both camp. We did get a bit more information on the apps coming to the Xbox, didn't we, last week?
Yes. So they've because it was one of the development shows, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so they were talking about that.
Yeah. So they've said that they still haven't really given a time frame. We might get some more at Build, but they've said summer for Xbox apps, and they still haven't said what kind of apps and whether it'll just be an open house or there'll be you got to submit special apps. Or they haven't really said anything about it yet.
No, they haven't, which is I don't know. It was I guess
next week.
Next week
at Build.
Yeah, Build. Yeah, I'm guessing Build is where they're going to announce some of this stuff.
And so, do you think they'll go for just the whole Windows Store, or do you think they're going to have a special Xbox target for your apps?
I would guess that's actually a difficult one because it could be a straight universal.
Yeah. In some respects, it makes sense to have it straight universal, and then anything will work, and just as it would on the PC. But then there are some thoughts that it should be the sort of only apps that really are applicable to run on an Xbox. But if you write a universal, the Maps app, for example, why can't you run that on the on Xbox? That would
nice.
Make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah, something like that. And the Photos app, and I'm thinking like Twitter, the Twitter app, the new universal Twitter app. Did we talk about that last week? I don't think it was out, was it?
No, it came out after the show, didn't it?
Yeah. So have you given that a try? There's a new Twitter app out. Well, say new. It's really the Windows 10 version that's just now available for the phone. That's had it, and they've made a few tweaks to it, but it's essentially the universal app. Yeah,
I'm using it daily on the phone, so quite like it actually.
It's certainly a big update on the old Twitter app.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things I don't like. In fact, you can't swipe side to side to go between the tabs because that was always quite nice. And it does look a bit like an iOS port in places.
It does,
but it's got a lot of functionality in there which wasn't in the original app. It's got the dark theme, which I do think looks really nice. Yeah,
actually, I've just switched my 950 to the light theme for a while because I've been on the dark theme for ages, so I thought I'll switch it over. So that has respected that as well, and it's got the light theme on there.
Yeah, it's good. So you got the choice, which is good.
Yeah, there's still a few things that I'm still using Tweetium because there's still quite a few things that I think work better on Tweetium, like inline replies from the Action Center.
Yeah, but that's there. I mean, and the other thing, there are some things which they took away with this build, which are quite annoying, like the integration of the People app.
Yeah.
And notifications, because notifications don't seem to come through at all now.
Oh, I get the notifications. So because I've got Tweetium as well, so I get two notifications. Just the notifications looks nicer in Tweetium because they've got the image of the Twitter account. So if you reply, I can see your image on the Action Center, and I can reply to it from the Action Center. From the standard Twitter app, I just get the Twitter icon and no option to reply on there.
Cool. Yeah,
but it is better. It is better than the old one anyway. For some people who don't want to mess about with third-party apps, then it's definitely a lot better than the previous one.
Yeah, and of course with all the API restrictions on the Twitter first-party apps, and the fact that you can only get so many people can have copies, and uh, before they run out of
Yeah,
seats, it's good to have a genuine, reasonable. I wouldn't say brilliant, but reasonable
yeah.
first-party client.
I mean, I think that you like the Instagram app. You know, it's better than it was.
Yeah.
And I think they're good enough now.
Mm.
So I think what we're going to see next is the Facebook app, isn't it? The Facebook Messenger.
Yes, I would think that'd be that needs to be the next one.
Yeah, maybe it build.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what we get build. I think we'll have a few announcements.
Yes, I think so. Although, do you think it's going to be more platform orientated rather than new features and apps for Windows?
That's a difficult one. It could be, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it could.
I did see that someone at Microsoft, a developer at Microsoft, tweeted that they were working on an update for the File Explorer.
Mm.
So whether we'll see that in the new builds coming up soon, but that's one thing that hasn't really been touched for a long while.
Yes. Yeah, well, that'd be quite
I mean, it
interesting.
works quite well on when you're in desktop mode, but in tablet mode, it's not brilliant.
Yeah, I just hope they don't take away some of the features from File Explorer, because that's my power area. I do everything in File Explorer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, you left
In fact, you can right click
PowerShell.
and take a folder while you're in the middle of File Explorer. The File Explorer is sort of, yeah, that sort of things are really useful.
Maybe we'll get a universal File Explorer.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, and then if you're on a desktop or a tablet or a laptop,
Yeah.
you've got the old style one and you've got a modern one. Yeah, so Bill, yeah, I don't know what we're going to see on there. It's we've not had any major leaks or anything, and it's what, next week, is it now?
Yes. Yep. So we should start hearing some stuff next week.
Yeah. So what was I going to say as well? Yeah, so that's the apps coming. So we might hear about the Xbox One and apps coming through to that on that pretty soon as well. So yeah, we've got the new apps from Twitter and from Instagram. What else do we have new? Oh, just an update, not on Windows 10 for 10. OpenELEC 7 Beta 1 has been released. And I know a lot of listeners that listen to the show use OpenELEC, and this now supports Bluetooth audio.
Yes, which is really good. I'm hoping the OSMC build will also have that fairly shortly. That's the alternative.
Yeah, that
Pi build.
Because yeah, I've got a Bluetooth speaker. That'd be quite a nice patring of a.
Yeah, well, I currently do use a Bluetooth speaker connected to my Pi, but actually cabled in, so it'd be nice not to have to cable it in.
Yeah, because the Pi 3 supports Bluetooth as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you've got a combination with Kodi, OpenELEC, Pi 3, that would be quite nice.
Yeah, would be.
So you can give that a try. That's available from the OpenELEC site. I've posted some hands-on video last week for the PC and phone build. Interestingly, I don't know why this is the case, but I get a lot more hits on the mobile builds than the PC builds.
Yeah.
Which I think will be the other way around. I just wonder whether it's because there's less people doing phone builds, so there's less competition.
Could be. Yeah, that's always possible.
Yeah, but I'm seeing a lot of traffic on that videos, and still an incredible amount of traffic. I think it's over nearly 40,000 views now of my Surface video, how to fix your Surface. Not, is it 40,000 or 400,000? 40,000, I think. Mm-hmm. And I had that again today, so just, at least I've got the answer on there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's all the stories I had tonight. I was recording a bit earlier this week, but it's a short week anyway because get Easter off. With 2 bank holidays here in the UK.
Indeed. So just one thing I wanted to follow up on. You remember I mentioned about doorbells last week?
Yes.
I got a further challenge from that, which I did take up. Someone asked me if it would be possible to create the equivalent of the Amazon Dash button they have in the States, which I think a little button you can press. You have under your counter, you can press and it will send a signal over Wi-Fi to.
To order something.
Right. And I thought, well, you could do something like that with this, then that. And I did a bit of research around the web, and there's quite a few people who've done this using a little chip called the ESP8266, which is an amazing thing. This is a chip which is it's tiny. It's about the size of my thumb. Costs about three quid. Well, you can get, or if you spend a bit more, you can have the developer version, which has a USB port on it, which makes it somewhat easier to code. And this is actually a fully Wi-Fi enabled microprocessor, which you can run the Lua language on.
Right.
And everybody's come across Lua. It's an interpreted language, bit like BASIC but on steroids. Someone described it. That's pretty unfair to Lua. But Lua is a very powerful language you can run. So you can run really powerful programs on it. Admittedly, it's got a very small amount of memory, but it's quite easy. It's quite possible to set a web server up on it.
Right.
It's on this tiny little chip. So all you need to do is use 5-volt power to it. It's got the Wi-Fi arrow built in. It's got access point modes and client mode. And you can connect in. So I posted this on Twitter, but I actually created a very simple circuit with a 3-volt power supply from 2 AA batteries, which is just about enough to power for it. It's supposed to be 3.3 volts, but it does power just on 3. And a switch over to the GPIO ports, because this has got GPIO on it, very much like the Pi and the Arduino. It's like you can actually program it using the Arduino programming.
Oh, I quite like that.
Because a lot of people used to buy these as add-ons to Arduinos, and then someone discovered, well, it's got all the power inside it. Why don't we just make it so you can program it directly? So you can do all that. You can do all your ports. You can flash lights on it. You can do all that sort of stuff. So a flashing LED when you press the button. So I've got. I'll send you this across. But I've actually currently got in one of those Amazon envelopes they deliver in, this thing set up with a button sitting on the outside the Amazon envelope, which you can press, and it will then send a this and that message to, which will send me an email saying you need to order something from Amazon.
Oh, that's an excellent idea.
So it's a very powerful tool.
So essentially, you could. I'm also familiar with the Arduino. I've got one, and so you can sort of write your program like we're doing for the Arduino, and you send it down to the chip.
Yeah, exactly. The best way to do that is if you get a build of the chip called Node MCU, which is based on Node.js effectively, but it allows you to run these Lua programs, and you can then either use the Arduino tools or use a thing called ASP Explorer, which actually is a better approach, because it's meant for these devices, and you just write your scripts and send them down. And there's lots of scripts out there. People have written stuff all over the place to control switches and flashlights. And there's a whole, if you're into home automation, there's actually a project called Easy ESP, or ESP Easy, I think, which allows you to connect sensors up to this thing and send the data to your home automation program.
Right.
And it's sort of like a built-in, it's a web server based program which has been built with and you can just easily configure it and just log on to the web page it generates and start configuring what switches, what sensors you want. So if you wanted a weather station, you could build one off this $5 chip.
Well, that sounds quite, because I my Arduino, I wrote a thermometer program, so it's got a thermistor on it, so I could then convert that into centigrade and use the tool there on LCD and display the temperature on there. So I've got that running. But the way I always fancied doing was having it so it would then send me alerts if the temperature was below a certain threshold or above a certain threshold for a certain period.
Really easy to do with this thing.
Yeah, and of course the Arduino itself, I found that difficult to do because there's no external communication on it.
No, whereas this is on this. And this actually makes, I mean, if you think about it, this is a similar price to the Pi Zero, and is probably a better bet.
And you can probably get hold, at least you can get hold of these.
Yes, you can get hold of these very, very easily as well.
I mean, I suppose is it similar then to like the microbit?
Yeah, I guess so in a little way, but it's a smaller chipset, a smaller size than that even. So, I mean, the microbit's got some nice LEDs and things built onto it, which make it quite a nice idea.
I think for that price though, and how would you communicate with it then to that sort of program it?
Well, programming it so on USB, micro USB on this first. So you can get versions of the chips with and without USB ports. If you haven't got one USB port, you'll have to have a TTL to USB converter of some sort, which is probably beyond most people. But if you buy the version with the Node MCU on it, you get that they all come with USB ports. They all come with power regulators as well, so you can power them off the USB port if you want to. You just connect to it, and you can just use the terminal program to connect to it, or you can use one of these, either use the Arduino tools or the ASP Explorer, which work really well, and you've got the ability to then transfer these Lua programs across. And of course, Lua is interpreted. You can just run the Lua on the command line. So you could actually test things out, like setting
Right,
pins, just
yeah.
by typing the command in to do it, which makes it a really interesting approach.
Yes, go back to interpreted program,
Yeah,
basic program.
But it's actually, for this type of thing, it works really well
Yeah.
because you're working with a small space, and you've got the ability also to have a startup program on it, auto startup. So when it powers up, it starts up. And you have to think a bit about like power usage, because obviously Wi-Fi uses quite a bit of power. So what I've done, for example, what I've done on this app I've done is that the button I'm pressing is actually the reset button.
Right.
So it resets, so it starts up, it then goes through and triggers off its alert. So it takes a few seconds to do that, but for this application, it's not too bad to do that. And then the last thing it does, it goes into deep sleep.
Of course, yeah. And then you reset.
You reset it again, and it sends it off. So I've worked out that these 2A batteries should last around about 5,000 presses of the button.
That's probably enough then. I could use it on to when I need to go and get more coffee beans, so it wouldn't last quite as long. But,
but what you could do with your temperature sensor, you could write your program so that because you can say go into deep sleep for so many seconds. So you could actually just update it every minute or so, because something like that doesn't need to be updated that regularly.
Yeah. Oh, I think that sounds like another project to take a look at. Yeah. You keep telling me about these things, and I keep thinking more projects to do.
They are good, very, very good.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look at that. Right, so where can we find all of these experiments and reviews?
You should see some of these experiments starting to come onto Fascinating Tech. That one might turn up in 2 issues' time, but certainly the Curtain project I mentioned a few weeks back will be on this coming issue of Fascinating Tech, which is due out in the next few weeks. Might be after Easter.
And what's your Twitter?
I'm at Gary with 2 R's, WMA.
And Jason is at Database Jace. He should be back with us next week. School holidays and next week, isn't it?
Yes.
And then we should be back next Tuesday evening, I think, probably for back to our normal schedule for recording. So until then, I'll include all links for everything we talked about in the show notes. You can find all the videos on our YouTube channel, and I'm at Harry Stickson on Twitter. You can send me an email, ian@digitallife.com. Until next week, see you then.
Take care.